We're roughly at the midway point of the college basketball season. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Big Ten Conference and where Illinois and Northwestern stack up as we head toward March. Let's take a look at the current Big Ten standings. Michigan and Michigan State currently tied atop the Big Ten. Michigan via KenPom projected to win the Big Ten at a record of 15-5. Although you'll see the team with the best net rating is Illinois, currently ranked ninth in the country with that. The best offense in the Big Ten in terms of efficiency has been Purdue, and then the best defense in terms of efficiency has been Illinois. As we work our way down here, down the standings, Michigan State tied for first as of now, Purdue third, Illinois fourth, and then we got Wisconsin, Oregon tied for fifth, followed by Indiana, Maryland, Iowa, USC, Nebraska, Ohio State, UCLA, Penn State, Rutgers, Northwestern, Washington, all the way down to Minnesota, who are currently 0-6 in the Big Ten, and they face first place Michigan next. We'll move over to take a look at what has been expectations versus the reality of the season so far. So we're looking at KenPom rank against their preseason. So this is as of January 13th rank. What's their change since what KenPom had at the beginning of the season? So kind of surprise teams versus disappointment. Michigan, to top all, 26 points or 26 ranking spots improved, followed by Wisconsin and Michigan State, Nebraska, Maryland, and Penn State, all. And then we get to Illinois, who's increased 10 spots since their preseason ranking, which was kind of a big question mark given all the new guys on their team. Minnesota was not projected to be all that great, but they've dropped 55 spots so far. Ben Johnson definitely on the hot seat in Minnesota. Rutgers, I mean, with the two freshmen, it was hard to know exactly what was going to happen there, but they've struggled mightily. Northwestern, about where they started, but 5 down from where they were preseason predicted. A couple of the other teams that have been disappointments so far for me, Indiana and Washington have to be. Not that Washington was projected to be that great, but throwing all the money at great odds aboard. They do have a first-year head coach in Danny Sprinkle. But that's the thing with Indiana too, is that another group that threw a whole bunch of money at some of these transfer portal guys with Umar Ballo, and it just hasn't worked out so far. And Mike Woodson definitely on the hot seat in Bloomington. Let's take a quick look at the conferences ranked here, KenPom rating. SEC number one, no problem there. Big Ten number two, ahead of the Big 12. Kind of a down year for a couple of the teams in the Big 12. But the Big Ten, second best conference. And if we move over to the prediction here for, as of now, Joe Lunardi's teams in the NCAA tournament, he's got the Big Ten with 11 and the SEC with 11. So those two will be a lot of the field when we come to Selection Sunday. SEC, though, remember, only 16 teams, so a little more impressive there and kind of reflects their rating. But that's important to note, as over the half of the Big Ten is supposed to be in. So theoretically, as long as you don't have too many terrible losses outside of Big Ten play, 500 should be getting you into that field if you're solid enough with the rest of your resume. Let's take a look specifically at Illinois. As it stands as of today, 13-4 on the year, 5-2 in the Big Ten, coming off a blowout win at Indiana. Couple blowout wins as they've blown out Oregon on the road, and then at home they blew out Penn State. So those things definitely helping their metrics and their net rating, which is why we saw them first in the Big Ten in that category. The weird loss to USC, I mean, it seems like every Big Ten team has, a couple bad losses. And with Illinois, you could say KJ was out, but either way, that's a game they should win. The Northwestern one, road loss, I don't think that hurts them too much. And then the other losses are completely fine. Tennessee at the buzzer and Alabama. Can't really worry about those. So nothing too bad outside of that. USC one could hurt, but the big one is coming up on Sunday, Michigan State. I think that's a big time matchup for Illinois against a team that's one of the best defenses outside of them in Michigan State. That Tom Izzo team really ran all over Northwestern last weekend. They've been impressive so far. So that one I'm excited to see. But top 20 in offense and defense, this Illinois team's really been impressive so far. The one thing that scares me a little bit is the tendency to kind of go one-on-one ball, and more so when they didn't have KJ. That's kind of what killed them against USC. Just, where Kylan Boswell or Trey White can really just, the ball could stick. Let's put it that way, and they're not making plays for each other. So that's the one thing that kind of scares me, and that'll be a big test when they play a team like Michigan State, who's going to force them into positions where they could go one-on-one and take those shots and take themselves out of the game. So that's my biggest concern going forward with Illinois. Obviously, they're all new guys as well, but I think so far they've been really fun to watch. And as we look at Illinois' remaining schedule, man, how can you that end to the season is wild. Uh, they got UCLA, Michigan State, at Wisconsin. Then they got Duke at Madison Square Garden, home for Iowa, at Michigan, and then home for Purdue. That is absolutely murderer's row to finish the year. So that is going to be important to how Illinois goes into conference tournament and then where they're seated within. I mean, if they do well in those, there's they could really get one of those top seeds coming into March. Now we take a look at Northwestern, currently 10-6 on the year, 1-4 in the Big Ten as of this video. And the tough thing we saw earlier in when we looked at everyone in the conference, they have the hardest conference strength of schedule. Of course, with having so many teams in the conference, it's 18 now. You play most people once and a couple people twice. So they got dealt a raw deal in that one a little bit, and that's going to happen in these bigger conferences with some teams. Just kind of stinks for Northwestern. Um, the other thing that stinks is they've been on the bad end of a couple close finishes that just didn't go their way. We think of the Butler game where they had the half court heave that didn't count for Barnheiser on the foul. And then Penn State with the putback that didn't count because they called goaltending, but it wasn't goaltending. Tough road loss there, and then the tough road loss at Iowa on the buzzer beater there. Just three games that could have gone the other way. And this team their resume would look a lot different if they did go the other way. They'd have only a loss at Dayton, at Purdue, and at Michigan, or at home against Michigan State. Those would be their three losses if those three other games went the other way. They'd look a lot better. As of now, they look like they're out of the tournament. And I just fear that those two conference losses with Iowa and Penn State are going to be tough to overcome given that tough conference strength of schedule that they have. The thing that's been concerning over the last few games is some of the main thing is Tyberry with last three games. So games since 1-1, 2025, he's got a total of 5 points. He's 1 of 10 from three. He's been invisible in those games, and that just can't be the way it's going to go for the Wildcats to make the NCAA tournament. Nicholson's been a little invisible at times too, but I think more of that is just the playmaking that has not yet been there since losing Boo Buie. It's really been Barnheiser. He's leading the team in assists, Leach a little bit, but it seems like they're really still trying to find it on offense. And you'll see that here with their offset rankings in offense and defense, 82nd in offensive efficiency and 33rd in defense. So they've always been a team that's been hanging their hat on defense, but even more so this year. Still the slow tempo, and the three-pointers is what needs to improve to get some of that offense ranked. Currently 270th in the country with 31.5% from three. The good surprise has been Martinelli from three, but like I'm saying with Barry and then Barnheiser really shooting more threes than he would ideally like to have. As we look at the remaining schedule, lots of quad one opportunities here. Very tough schedule throughout the way, but they've really got to hold serve at home. They've got Maryland and Indiana coming up at home and Rutgers as well. Those all need to be wins. If they'll probably need to steal a couple on the road to get to probably 10-10 in the Big Ten to get them in the question of of being a tournament team again. 10-10 should probably get them in, I'm hoping, given how many teams were projected out of the Big Ten. They've got Nebraska at home. They need to win that one. They need to pretty much win all of their home games. The Wisconsin one, they could lose if they're stealing game at Washington, and then maybe they get to play at Minnesota. They'll need that one, and then steal one more away game. That's where it gets tough. Oregon, Illinois, Michigan, those are going to be tough away games. Maybe they can steal one at Ohio State, but they're going to need to do that in order to become a tournament team this year. You made it to the end of the video. I appreciate it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Chicago sports content. I'm super excited as we head into March. It's a really interesting year to be a college basketball fan. Super excited for Illinois this year and hoping Northwestern can get it rolling as well. Appreciate you watching the video.